I'd like to introduce you to somebody named Gillian Lynn. She's a 10-year-old girl. I'm sure you've seen pictures of her. Pretty as can be, freckles on her nose, her hair done up in braids with little ribbons in it, a chiffon dress, and she's sitting in a doctor's office. And that's the reason why she's there. The mother was kind of worried, a very, very bright girl, never had any kind of problems, but she just didn't seem to produce at school. Kind of wandering, not paying attention, fidgeting all the time. And as she was explaining all this to the doctor stopped her mother and said, "Just a second. Gillian, dear, just wait a moment. I want to talk to Mommy outside." And they turned on a radio to the music, and then he and the mother went outside, and they didn't close the door. They left it open a crack. And within seconds, Gillian was 10 million miles away. She was dancing in Cinderella's castle. She was jumping from star to star without rock. She was just gone with the music. And the doctor turned around and said, "It's music. It inspires her. It's what drives her. It connects." The truth of the matter is, she's hearing music even when it's not playing. So maybe you should think about, why not sticking her into a dance school or into a music school? Why not? The world is filled with people who see things the way they are, and they ask, why? But there are a few people who see things that don't exist, and they ask, why not? Marie Curie, Gandhi, Disney, Einstein, Nelson Mandela. They all saw something that wasn't there, and they asked, why not? This doctor, whose name is lost to history, asked why not put her into a dance school. Well, the mother did. Today, Gillian Lynn has choreographed or stage-produced 80 London stage performances, including the two most successful in history, Cats and Phantom of the Opera. She has choreographed more than 20 films, and she is, I think, the only woman ever to be proclaimed Commander of the British Empire and Dame of the British Empire. All because somebody asked, why not? And this why not is what gives us our imagination. Think about the times when you're kids. Go back, superhero powers, saving the world from whatever. This past summer, I've got a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old at home, and I introduced them to Star Wars and Godzilla. A double whammy. So now, when they jump up and down on the bed, they're not jumping up and down on the bed, they're flying with Luke Skywalker to shoot down Darth Vader and blow up the next Death Star, and then when they have to go and face Mega Godzilla, who's going to come in after them, and whether it's something as exotic as that or something as simple as playing doctor or playing house, they are building a world in which they know how to exist and how to thrive. And child psychologists tell us that there are benefits for this. When a child is playing make-believe or using their imagination at any age, they are learning reasoning. It might be symbolic, but it is still reasoning. They are learning how to think. They also learn empathy. When they have to fix the little Miss Polly dolly with a broken leg, and they are projecting upon them, a little doll, the feelings of want, love, and need that they have. And they also, when they're dealing with monsters under the bed, they are learning to overcome the unknown, things that frighten them, which leads to the most important element of all. Through their experiences, through their imagining, they are learning to have confidence in themselves. They are learning to have faith in their own abilities on how to bring any conditions that the world will give them. So what happens? How come as children we have superhuman powers, but as adults we don't seem to use them as much as we want? Well, let's think about it for a minute. Have any of you ever seen the phones from 120 years ago? It's a great big wooden box on a wall. You had to hand crank, and you had to lift the receiver off, and operator, Riverside 2233. Now it's a tiny little thing. Films, internet, applications, scientific notation calculator. I'm sure there's an application where you can make toast with the stuff. Cars, I'm a car guy. I mean, have you seen cars? Pictures of cars from 120 years ago? Hand crank up front, wooden spokes in the wheels, no doors, no roof, no glass. Today, some of these cars have more luxury than in my apartment. Now let's talk about schools. Have you seen pictures of schools from 120 years ago? All the students are in desks. They have their own desk. They're sitting in a row. They are not allowed to speak unless they raise their hands. They're all learning the same thing at the same time. They all have to be there at 8 until 4:30 with a half-hour lunch. They are only allowed time off in July and August. Public education was started in order to teach children how to become factory workers for the Industrial Revolution. And I dare say education has not advanced in terms of imagination as much as telephones and cars. Lest you think I'm making too much of a deal, let me ask you, does this apply to anybody you know? You live in a square building. You wake up in a square bed after sleeping on a square pillow. You walk to a bathroom and look in the square mirror. And then you sit down at a kitchen table, maybe square, and you eat a square box of cereal or a square carton of milk. And then you get into a square car or a square train, and then you go to another square building, where you go into a square elevator, and then you walk off that elevator into a square office, where you sit down on a square chair at a square table, where you turn on a square monitor, and you hit square keys all day long. It gets better. At the end of the day, you get back in that square elevator, back onto the square car, back to your square home, where you take square food, put it into a square microwave oven, heat it up, and then you watch square TV for the night. That is a definite lack of imagination. And it has two really frightening aspects. The first aspect, Harvard University produced a study in 2008 which showed a direct link to memory loss and lack of imagination. And another one, lack of imagination with food in our health. We now have the highest rates of cancer, diabetes, and heart disease ever. Ever. And it's all self-inflicted. You gotta wonder, what is it we can do? What is it that is stifling this imagination? I'll give you an example. If I were to ask anybody, male or female, to come up here and try this on, I will bet you 1 month of my salary, each and every one of you would come in with your right hand first, even left-handed people. You've been doing the same thing every day for many, many years. And I think I just broke my mic. Did I get it? Yeah. There we go. Here, be a buddy, will you? Thanks. Okay, there you go. Use imagination. Tomorrow, do me a favor. I want you to, for the first time in many years, put your pants left leg first. Just try it. It won't cost nothing. In fact, don't even wait till tomorrow. Please, everybody, today, break your habits. Use your imagination. Please, brush your teeth with your other hand tonight. It takes nothing, and it will actually inspire something. Guys, if you're really brave, try shaving with your left hand tomorrow. That'll catch your imagination. Girls, maybe you can do it too, you know? Monday, Tuesday, whatever, next week, please, take a different route to work. Go at a different time. Take a different tram. Take a different street. Just break the monotony. The reason that we are doing this self-inflicted death of our imagination is simply because we think it's efficient. Somebody told us we have to be efficient. We have to save time. And in doing so, we're killing any original thoughts. I've actually had managers in my company, I've heard them telling their staff, don't think, just do. Where's the imagination in that? How can anyone possibly do something different? I'm not a machine, and I really don't want machines working for me. I want people with ideas, people who can come up with something that I've never seen. And I ask them sometimes, how can you help me? I'll give you some very simple advice. For those of you who are students, I bet you've heard some version of this oldie-goldie. When you're nervous, take an exam, giving a speech, whatever, just think of your instructors wearing nothing but underwear. If nothing else, it breaks tension. It takes you somewhere else just for a few little minutes. And that's enough to relax. It's enough to help you. At work, I've often played a trick on people. I've held out an apple. And I said, how many do I have? Very careful about what I've asked. How many do I have? One? No. How many do I have? And then always from the back, some guy yells out, "It's a bushel," because you can take the seeds and plant more trees. And then somebody else will say, "No, no, no, it's an orchard. You take all the seeds and you plant all the, and no, 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 you can make a farm out of it." You are now using imagination at work. For those of you who actually run budgets or have companies, can you imagine what would happen? Take your next year budget and multiply it by 10. No, forget that. Multiply it by 1,000. Take incredibly fantastic, ridiculous numbers. How would you get to those fantastic, ridiculous numbers? That's imagination. My question is, why not? Why not? Walt Disney asked why not. I don't think the man ever drew a picture or cartoon after 1927. And look what he ended up doing. He asked why not when it came to taking moving pictures and putting sound on them. Why not taking that sound and making it music and then having the pictures move to the music, like people dancing? Why not take these pictures and make them in color? Why not take glass plates and paint the background on glass? That way the characters would run between the trees, creating the world's first 3D films. Why not take a cartoon and make it last 90 minutes? Why not take nature, films of nature, put it into a script, put on music, and produce the world's first wildlife nature films? Why not take an idea of an amusement park, clean it up, have one section for adventure, have one section for fantasy, another section for space exploration, and make it clean? The man has completely changed the entire entertainment industry. Another man asked why not regarding the health disaster that we're facing. I will give you just one horror fact. The OECD produced a report last year that said 10% of all adults in the European Union have diabetes. That number is going to double before the year 2030, I beg your pardon. If that is accurate, that means 16 people in this room who don't have diabetes today are going to have it by the year 2030. I don't know which 16, but that's the number. Think about that. Every day for the remainder of your life, all because of bad diets and improperly prepared food, lack of imagination when we're cooking. A man named Philip Zepter said, why not take cooking art, but put it with the most fantastic technology available? We are going to create a system where you can cook food in its own natural juices. No water, no oil, just the food itself. Slow, low heat, and it never needs butter, never needs salt. Just whatever spices you like on it. National Geographic produced 2 reports in the past year called Blue Zones, which said healthiest food comes out of slow, low-heat cooking. Taking that food that is full of nourishment, you can't boil the life out of it with water. You just cook it in its own juices and it stays healthy. It's good for our bodies. And then he thought, well, why just stop with cooking? Why not have air cleaners? Why not produce water purifiers that just take out everything and leave H2O? Finally, why not produce a light spectrum that will penetrate the body and heal the body from inside? Why not? Think about going back to the childhood. If we are able to use our imagination every day, maybe we can come up with new ways of with new ideas of reasoning. Maybe we can come up with new ways of being empathetic to our loved ones and building a stronger social network based on love, decency, and care. Maybe we can worry less about the things that we can't control. Maybe, just maybe, if we ask why not, we can learn a little bit more self-confidence in our own abilities, in our own essence. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be here to tell you how you can do that. Maybe you can think of listening to a cup of tea. That's using your imagination. Looking at a picture of a ship or at a ship in one of those bottles and think, what about the crew? Where did they go? What adventures did they see? That's using your imagination. Going to a shop, shopping for food without a little list. That's using your imagination. Maybe not. I'm not going to tell you why you should do it. I'm not going to tell you how to use imagination, how to use it on a day-to-day basis. I'm simply going to stand here and ask you, why not?